Nerd morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy. This is Joseph.
Hi guys.
And this is the Nerd Morning Show, a place where we celebrate nerd culture by talking about books, comics, video games, and other nerdy things. And we have been going through and talking Wheel of Time. And this is kind of a continuation of our last conversation. It ended up having to get cut a little bit short because of technical difficulties. But we are back in with Wheel of Time, and we're relatively probably pretty close to the same areas in Crossroads of Twilight.
Yeah.
And there are just so many interesting points and things here. One of the things that I have gotten to is I think like the third moment where we kind of harken back to the end of With Winter's Heart, where Rand is purifying the taint in the male side of the power, and everyone in the world can feel this who can touch either the male or female side of the power because they're both being used to cleanse the source. And this is
and everyone's
fascinating.
Like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we've had for most of the story up to this point is events happening simultaneously as we kind of jump back and forth. But this is one of the times where all of these stories really are pretty separate experience, and we can tell because like the same experience that we're having right here, like where I'm at, I barely got to where Elaine and Avienda are feeling it and going, oh no, that's towards where Rand is. We should go and help. No, we can't go help because of these things. And they have this interesting conversation. But we've had this like a couple of times where they're like, what is that? And this is the biggest moment I think we've had from Rand, because things that he's done in the past, he's conquered a couple of nations and done things like that. And these are all pretty big deals. But ultimately, if he dies, it disappears or whatever, like life moves on. But this is something that is going to be touched and felt forever, pretty much. And everyone who is any at all sensitive to the magic of this universe can feel this, can see the direction to this, and everyone's either terrified or in awe or shock. And I am fascinated by this because this is the first thing that I think he's done that has been truly substantial to the level that he is supposed to have, of being the savior of the world kind of level. And this is a huge thing.
Oh, sure. If his version, this turning of the wheels version for the dragon, if this is all he accomplished, that's probably plenty. They've had 3,000 years of only female Aes Sedai, only female power users, and the fear of any man who can channel through the whole world. In some cultures, if a man learns he can channel, he goes off to fight the darkness and dies. Some places, they execute him on the spot. Some places, the Aes Sedai come and round them up and gentle them. It's been so long to have this fear, but the Age of Legends that they came out of, the male and the female channelers, they worked together to do all of the greatest things. Which is why Rand got Nynaeve to help with this. Not only could he trust her, but she's super duper powerful also. So working together, they were able to clean something that the Dark One corrupted and made impure.
They call it the Dark One's taint. And that's like talked about as with the people who actually know the Forsaken. When they're talking, they're actually like, they're with like legitimate life experience of this. And they're like, yeah, this was him. Like that's totally confirmed as how that origin has, because they also do talk about rumors and how history has shifted and changed. And I think that's substantial to see. This is, yes, confirmed how this has happened, how this works. As we go in that story. Yeah.
Definitely. And that kind of brings me to some of the thoughts I've had through this last week of reading on the male and female Aes Sedai. Now the Rand has given amnesty to all male channelers. They're at the Black Tower.
Right, the
being
Ashaman.
taught not only to channel, but they're being trained as weapons.
Pretty much,
all of the sisters, the Aes Sedai, who have any actual knowledge of what's going on, not just what Elida is telling them, and that's a whole other chain of events. But you know, they're seeing these men not only being trained to channel, but to do so almost purely destructively. And their whole lives they've been taught the stories, the histories, and the mythologies of how men channelers destroyed the world. And it was bad.
I just think of like with Dumai's Wells, like that example where he's just like Ashaman kill, and then they just lay waste where explode. Bodies are like torn asunder. Like this is pure destruction, and that's terrifying with that connection, which is an awesome connection you bring in to the fear and mythology that they've had built up through thousands of years. That's a great that's a good thought.
But now that the source has been cleaned, really the only thing that makes the Ashaman not Aes Sedai is they haven't gone through the culture of it. Some of the Aes Sedai with Elaine and Nynaeve, who were raised to be Aes Sedai by Egwene as the Amarlin seat. A lot of the other Aes Sedai are like, you didn't hold the oath rod. You didn't go through all this stuff. You didn't do that. And that's an important point for a culture, for a group. You have your initiations, you have your ceremonies and different things that let you say you are part of this because of that shared experiences. I'd had those thoughts like, you guys got to lay off Rand. He is basically an Aes Sedai too. You just don't see this. And I'm corrected myself on that because he didn't go through the same things. And really, a lot of times, who we call the Aes Sedai, they don't act like Aes Sedai, like I would think of them, because the definition is the idealized of all. Right, like from the Age of Legends and things. So it's not just they're here to help all mankind wherever they are, whatever they're doing, they're helping mankind. There's a lot of the sneaky behind the scenes stuff. They are trying to help, you know,
as they see it, and also help with the agendas.
Right. But there's not that day-to-day helping. I kind of see the yellows with their healing abilities or their focus on healing as the most Aes Sedai. That could be debated.
Well, that's a whole thing.
That would be a whole nother debate. But you know, they're the ones who help the people in general. So I think they're the most deserving of the title Aes Sedai, servants of all. Right.
Well, I thought
just some thoughts I've had. Ashaman, they're not being taught to serve, so not calling them Aes Sedai is fair. But really, what's the difference?
I mean, they're being trained as warriors, and they are not really hiding away from the fact. Rand, you know, when he talks about it, he's like, they are a weapon in my hands. That's what they're for. And This is really, again, a part of his like darker type of logic and thinking, where he's struggling and he doesn't see these people as people anymore. He sees them as a tool that he needs in order to be able to save the world, right? And this is this darker logic that he's stuck and trapped in, which when he gets his like rebirth, right, like that whole experience, he starts to be able to re-see them as people. And that's I think an interesting dynamic there. But the whole contrast of the Aes Sedai, as you're talking about, the Forsaken, again, is fascinating, because the Aes Sedai of their age were maybe more idealized. They actually pretty much admit to that, and that the reason why they were no longer Aes Sedai or members of those types of like groupings is because they were ending up being selfish, and that was taken advantage of. And here they talk about them as these children playing as Aes Sedai. I mean, I think that's pretty close to how they describe.
They say things like that fairly often.
Yes. And that, I think, is really, really, I don't know, it's interesting, because again, you have these group that are like, I mean, in other terms, like the superheroes of the world. They've got powers, they can do crazy, amazing things, and they're being tasked with the responsibility to do these amazing things. But yet, so often they see themselves as being so much above everyone else, or being able to, crook your finger and kings will bow for you. Like, this whole attitude is not serving of all. That's, I think, really interesting.
I keep having those kinds of thoughts, like the Aes Sedai, they've lost the grandeur of the Age of Legends. They have. We don't know a lot about it, but how it's idealized, and the little we do have, you have to assume that the Aes Sedai of that era were protectors. They were helpers. We know they helped with some of the crop planting and growing, because they would help with the songs, and singing, different things, and
which is a huge thing that is like
using
hit in, I don't know.
Using the power to help grow crops, to help clean famines and things. Excuse me. But so I think the Aes Sedai have come a long way from being servants of all.
And I think with that, the oath rod and having to swear oaths, that's something they didn't have to do in the Age of Legends.
Right.
But now they have to, just to be able to have a modicum of trustworthiness. And there's just something that Egwene learns and goes, this is important. And it's because of how far they have fallen as a people, that these are important.
Right. And the different mythologies, a lot of people can't distinguish any channeler from the male channelers who actually had the problem, but it wasn't really their fault. Right. And that's something that Moraine says so nicely, that Aes Sedai are people. You have good people, you have crazy people, you have people you want to associate with, you have those you don't. Aes Sedai, especially in this age, are just other people. They just happen to be people with a whole freaking ton of power.
And a long, long life to live. I mean, if you can live centuries longer than other people, you are going to amass certain experience. And also, like, if you're talking to somebody and you're like, I saw when you were born, or there unto like that time period, it's like, I was like toppling nations while you were a child. Like, I understand why they get so prideful and how that happens, but I think that is a very damaging thing to them, particularly for when they need to interact with people like Rand, right? Their whole purpose, the things like the Battle Lodja and these other groups, they're like, we're here to fight in the last battle. We've been prepping for this for thousands of years, all this types of stuff. And then they need to like team up, right? This is the ultimate team up experience. And nobody can do it because they're all like so problematic. And this is a issue for all of the Aes Sedai, even with Moraine, though she does learn, she does grow,
she does learn.
She realizes that Rand has this duty and it's thrust upon him, and also he's chosen for it. And the whole dynamic of fate and choice is a whole nother topic, but like she recognizes we have to let him free, we have to be able to let him do these things, and I'm wanting to guide and twist, and then she's like, okay, I have to surrender, which you think would be kind of obvious with the female power, right? This whole thing's prepping them for this experience to surrender to the, to like the Dragon Reborn's purpose. Not necessarily that he knows all the answers, but he kind of has a path he has to follow, and you're there to like prep him up and propel him forward. And none of them want to do that.
And it's like Elida's plan. We're going to shield him and chain him up in the corner, and then when the last battle comes, we'll say, all right, there you go.
Right?
How can you expect him to have any strength or any skill or anything to succeed if you've chained him up and he hasn't learned how to do anything? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah,
I have problems with Elida.
Oh gosh. She's I'm like, it's like this next book, I think she really starts to get hers, and I just love that.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. It's one of the best story arcs though, where that happens, and that's not yet. Okay, but this idea of like holding Rand or doing that kind of thing is we get the other side of this from the people of the dragon, the wise ones, and they're saying we need to make sure that he falls in love with one of us. So we're going to push Avienda because he needs to see us not just as a weapon.
He needs to see us and want us, not just need us.
Yes, and because of this, pretty much they have to say we have to like have him experience our ways, learn to love our world, right? And so he would want to save us, right? Because with Elida's plan, we're going to torture him, shield him, not give him the strength, and then he's going to go and fight our battle for us. Does this make sense? Would he like bend over and take all that and then choose to save you? No, like you want him to see the beauty of the world, to value humanity, value people, and to treasure those things, because those are the things he's going to fight for, and those are the things that are going to give him strength. And that is something that some like the wise ones, I think, really cleverly play with that idea, and it's problematic and it's interesting. But
the only other one who sees that is Catswain.
And Catswain's approach is not the best approach, but
probably not.
But ultimately, she does teach him what he needs. Though it wasn't like, I don't know. I think that's interesting because was it her that really taught him that? No,
I think she laid the foundation, but I still hold fast to my opinion that it's mostly Min. That her proximity to him and her grounding for him to see life, not just a goal and a path to follow. And of course, the binding between Min, Elaine, and Avienda, basically make all of them making Rand their warder / husband. All of that kind of contributes later when he loses his arm and he starts thinking, part of me is gone.
Yeah.
All of those little things, Cat Swain definitely helps with it. But
Mhm.
I think Rand mostly gets there himself in the end, mostly propped up and given the foundation by the people in his life that he loves.
Yeah.
The first time he meets with his father, we're jumping ahead a little bit with that one.
I
Um,
know.
we'll get to it again,
No,
but
no.
it's
I'm just
relevant.
I'm just
It's
like
relevant.
I was thinking about that so much though, and I'm just like, oh no, it's not there. It's not there.
Right, we'll come back to it, but it's relevant right now.
Yeah.
When the first time he meets his father, he's jerk face. He's a horrible person,
Yeah.
and afterwards, after his change and his letting go and not
Uh-huh.
and realizing that strength also is flexibility,
Yeah.
then his relationship with his father comes back and is great. And
Well,
anyway,
yeah. I mean, with that, what we see here is
yeah,
totally this whole thing with Olida's plan versus Moraine and all of these different places that are like influencing him or whatever is,
yeah,
and having their plan of how to deal with him is that he needs to love people. He needs
yes,
to love the world. He needs to be this embodiment of goodness. And he has this dynamic internal battle. And the Aes Sedai overall do not help with that battle.
no,
They make it worse. Over
yeah,
and over and over again, they make it worse. And this is the great battle of the age, is his
mhm,
internal struggle, because
yeah. There you
this
go.
this is the whole thing, is he had to be in a mental state. Now this is jumping way to the way forward. He has to be in the mental state to be able to weave the world the way it needs to be woven to seal the Dark One and maintain its integrity.
Yeah,
And with that, he had to value the right things. He had to see the world in a certain way. And he could not do that if it was just a power struggle.
yes,
And that, I don't know. I think it's like, it's beautiful. It's so powerful. Because, like, for us, our world is our own mind.
right.
Literally everything that I experience is because of my brain's capacity to experience and interpret anything. That is my universe.
Yep.
My body's experience is all that I have, you know? And so that to me is the battle of my universe. And I think the
Yeah.
parallelism there with his experience to this whole cataclysmic fantasy epicness is extremely powerful. And Elida's plan just says, let's just shut
Sucks.
ourselves away. And it doesn't work.
Right. Oh, you're digging deep there. That was good stuff. I liked it.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you.
So, uh, no. So anyway, jump to jumping into where I am currently.
Mhm.
I am just where Matt is. Finally escaping Ebodar. He has Tuon
Mhm.
there with him, and I like Tuon. She's perfect for Matt. I mean, she's little and she's feisty and she's not going to take any crap, and
Uh-huh.
she's going to let him know it.
The
And
first time I read about Tuon, I'm like, what? Wait, bad guy. You know, Shan Chen are all bad guys. They were,
right,
my thinking, the first read through, the ultimate villain. Like,
yeah,
these were the great, this was the great battle.
yeah,
And so I could like her. It was against the rules. And I just
right.
didn't see. And now, like, as I've reread this several times, like, yes, Tuon is a fantastic character, truly problematic in so many ways, the way she sees the
Oh,
world and all those
yep,
types of stuff. But also really interesting to see how her worldview is influenced by her upbringing and her experience.
uh-huh,
And we
yep,
as people are empathetic to her, even though some of the things that she believes are demonstrable And we I don't know, we have that because we understand her and her experience. And we were like, I kind of like, if she grew up in a different environment, you know, she would have had different systems of thinking and ideals and values and virtues. I don't know. Yeah, you were talking about your thoughts with Tuon and how much you enjoyed her.
No, you're totally right on, and she's perfect for Matt because of those reasons.
Yeah,
I don't think Matt could have truly settled for anyone that couldn't keep him on his toes and couldn't keep him intrigued and excited all the time.
Oh, and also moderately terrified.
Yeah. They're not their first interaction, but when he's trying to escape and they run into each other, she kicks his butt. She totally won that fight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was only because other people showed up that he was able to kidnap her.
Right.
With you definitely using like earmarks here, right?
It's definitely air quotations that he did that.
Yeah.
When her Sojin walks in, I forget her name right off. But she's like, "Are you really going to go through with this kidnapping thing?" Yeah, I think I will. Fine. Like, there are 4 men here, 2 ladies, one of them already captured, and they're completely confident that they could win that fight and leave if they wanted to.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah. Well, it's because Tuon is a beast. And I think what's fascinating is her own prophecies. Linking with him and his essentially prophecies that he got from the Ilfin and the Elfin, leaking back to her. And like, they are a fated match, right? They are, and they're both kind of like, are you for sure this is the one? You know, like, I don't know, it's an interesting thing because it strips away a lot of like the romance of will it happen, won't it happen, but it also is fun seeing them be trapped in it. And I don't know, it's a different dynamic, and it's a joy. It really is.
It is. And honestly, Tuon does court Matt. That's why she goes with him.
Yes.
To learn about him, you know, who is this person who basically gave his half of the marriage vows. Okay, I want to learn more about you. We'll see if I accept you or just kill you.
Yeah. Well,
it's so fun.
Yeah. Well, I love how one of her prophecies, I've got to this point where she's like, so like, you know, you remember the face of what's his name?
Arthur Hawkwing.
Arthur Hawkwing, yes. And
he does.
And he totally does. But like, this is like a prophecy of her, of what to look for. And he's like, oh crap, I can't, like, I don't talk about this. Like everyone thinks I'm crazy. And but when he says no, he was so caught off guard that she's like, okay, there's something else here. And so she like keeps her interest of willing to see where this goes, because this is like the sign she's looking for. And it's like right on the mark with him. And I don't know, Matt's whole bit is fascinating. He has this like this adventure of destiny that is honestly as epic as Rand's, I think. It's not necessarily like the fated to transform the nations or anything, but like, I think he would have been the second most significant being in in the whole world. Like, Perrin is tremendous. I love Perrin, but his Ta'veren nature and his special ability seems to be a little less in the scale of how it influences the whole world.
Yeah, he brings people together, the Andorans and stuff, But yeah, he
provides tremendous armies and all those things.
Yeah, not to minimize anything from Perrin, but
No.
he seems to have fewer quirks and twists and turns. His biggest thing is when Fail is kidnapped, where she is right now for
Yes.
both of us in our reading. And we talked a little bit before too that Fail kind of gets herself out of that one. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think with his ability talking with wolves and being this wolf brother and wolf king ultimately, and all of that is super cool. Like that's awesome. Like he's got an amazing story arc, brilliant characters that he links to and connects with, all of those types of stuff. So I'm definitely not discounting that. But if we're talking about like the Tavira nature and the whole like and how like with both Matt and Rand, they have new memories that they get and other types of tools in order to be able to pursue this destiny that they have. Like those are really, really big things. One of the things I think is interesting about Matt is not the horn sounder, which we get all the way in the future, but the whole big thing for him that he would quote unquote be like known for probably as that was the thing that happened in book 2, and everything else after that is big, is significant, but that was like probably his role, right? And that was at the beginning instead at the end, and that was something that was very, very interesting in the interweaving, and that's again the twists and the turns of his character. I had heard rumor, and I haven't yet got this 100% confirmed. One of our listeners probably will go like, yes, this is confirmed from somewhere. But they are maybe recasting the actor who played Matt's first season in the second season.
Really?
Which most of the times with these big series, like that's something they really, really, really try to avoid.
Right. They want to avoid that big time.
But yeah, that is a potential of what might be happening. I haven't got all the details yet, but yeah, that's to be.
Well, we'll have to watch noted. For that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully both performers do a good job. I'm hoping, I'm just hoping everything goes well, right? That's
right. Just looking forward to a really fun experience with the Amazon Prime show. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. I am tremendously excited again for the show. It's coming really pretty soon now. We're at like what, 6 weeks, a month and a half, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And I don't know. I'm ready. I'm hoping that this will excite new readers, new people to dive into that. I've been collecting this book series through thrifting on my physical copies. I've got digital copies, I've got audio versions, like all of that. A couple of weeks ago, I finally got my own copy, physical copy for The Gathering Storm, which was the last one I needed in a print form. And so I've like completed my collection all through thrifting. So buy them for $4 a piece, something like that. And I've been hunting the series for like a year because they have the other versions, the digital copies, the audio versions, all of that. And I just love having.
Nothing compares to a physical book.
Right. Being able to turn the page and all that.
Convenient.
Yeah, totally.
But a physical book is just an experience in itself. Yeah, it really is. So I agree. I did the same thing with Harry Potter. I wanted physical hardback of all the Harry Potter, just for that physical experience. So
Yeah.
I hear you on that one. I
Oh,
do.
talking about hard copies of those. I'm still hunting a couple of hard copies with that. I've got softbacks on most of those because I picked them up when I was young. Anyways, that's a whole other thing.
Yep.
But I guess like what I'm saying with my connection here is we're going to get probably show art covers. I think the big poster that we got for the movie poster for The Wheel of Time, the promo one that they did like maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. I think that's now the book cover for the newest version of The Eye of the World that they're doing. And I'm like, oh, there's going to be a whole nother set of these that are going to be printed with these covers. And, you know, I don't know if people are like cover hunters. They want all the different covers or who knows. Probably.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That is potentially exciting. And anyways, that's my like book collectingness. And I love having the books. I love like reading the books in that way, like I just talked about. So yeah, it's good things. Well, Joseph, any other things to add before we wrap up today?
Just looking forward to getting through. This sounds bad, but Winter's Heart and or Path of Daggers, Winter's Heart, and
Crossroads.
Oh, come on, where are we right now? Crossroads. Thank you. For me, that's the long, hard, slow time. A lot of people call the previous books the slog, but for me, it's these three. So I'm just like, I gotta get through it so I can get to the rest of the good stuff. But I'm finding a lot of good, rich stuff now that I kind of missed before. So I'm looking forward to more of that richness. So
yeah. I think for me, when I think of the slowest, I often think of Winter's Heart, which is, I think, one of the shortest. It feels like that way. It isn't, though. I just was looking. Path of Daggers is a little bit smaller. Anyways, but it's one of the smaller ones here in this grouping, and it does seem like it's a little bit slower. But I don't know. Again, Winter's Heart, the end of that is when they purify the taint, right? That is one of the biggest moments. That's huge, and
one of the biggest moments. Yeah,
and it's series, like definitely. I mean, Rand and Nynaeve are definitely just holding these things, and they're just doing nothing. I mean, they're doing a lot, but they're doing nothing, right? But there is a ton of action going around them, and and Robert Jordan does a really good job of featuring that to help keep your interest and energy. And so, like, it's done really, really well. I don't know, but when I think of the slowest, it's probably Winter's Heart. But yes, I'm really excited for these next couple of ones. The Egwene story arc is probably my favorite. It's like we're about to dial it up to 11, so if we dial it down to like 7 or so to catch your breath, you know, essentially, like, that's okay for me, because
you're gonna need it.
Yeah, exactly. Way cool. Well, thank you, Joseph, so much for being able to sit down and talk. I always love these conversations.
I love it.
For you guys watching, listening, if you guys have thoughts or things to add into the conversation, definitely feel free to put those in the comments below. I absolutely love seeing all of you guys' thoughts and ideas, and just being able to be excited and having that good energy for this story and the series that's going to be coming out too is all really, really amazing. You can find more Nerd Morning content on nerdmorning.com/links. That'll have all the links to all the different places, and we are everywhere. Thank you all again so much, and we'll catch you all next time.
Later.